All right, in this video, I want to talk about false grace. Now, if you're a Catholic, I pray you hear me out before you just turn the video off, turn to something else, or leave a comment. Now, I decided the proper thing to do here in talking about this is to first destroy the lie and then bring in the truth. Because if you're going to lay down the foundation of the truth, you need to destroy the existing foundation to properly lay in the truth. I'm going to use this here as a background as I do this here. Now, the Catholic Church teaches that grace is something that empowers you to do what is right, such as not sin, do the religious rituals, and do good works, as in do good for others. And they think that grace is the power of God to do this. And they're also taught things about having to do things to acquire the grace, right? Which doesn't make sense if you actually know what grace is. This is not what grace is. This is a false definition. And if you knew that, you would understand how this is contradicting itself. You see, when we come over here to Romans chapter 11, at verse 6 it tells us, "And if by grace, then is it no more of works. Otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise work is no more work." What Paul is telling us here is that grace is unearned and undeserved. Works is something that is earned and deserved, right? So if you put these two things together, it doesn't fit. If you say it's of grace and you mix works into it, then it's not grace anymore. If you say it's of works and you mix grace in it, then it's no more works. It's kind of like having fire and ice. Yes, they're two separate things, but if you want to put them together, you're just going to get a lukewarm puddle. You're no longer going to have ice. You're no longer going to have fire. The ice melts, puts out the fire, just a lukewarm puddle there, right? In order to have one or the other, they need to be separated because they're polar opposites, like a positive negative charge. When the positive negative charge meet, they cancel each other out, and it's no longer positive negative. It neutralizes, right? So it's either one or the other. So when you look into the Catholic teachings on these things, and they talk about grace, it's always like, does it make sense? If you're coming from the Bible and you're reading these things that the Catholic Church has to say, such as what paragraph we have here? This one here from Vatican II, Dogmatic Constitution of the Church, chapters 214, page 337. I said that kind of weird because I was like, how can it be chapter 2 and 14? Maybe it's two different passages? I don't know. But it says here, all children of the church should nevertheless remember that their exalted condition results not from their own merits, but from the grace of Christ. If they fail to respond in thought, word, and deed to the grace, not only shall they not be saved, but they shall be the more severely judged. So you see here how they even sneak in how grace is not based on your own merits. So you don't earn or deserve grace. Your exalted position is by the grace of God. In other words, you haven't earned it or deserved it, right? But then they throw works in and they say, but if you don't respond and earn it and deserve it by your thought, words, and deed, you'll not be saved and you shall be severely punished. So you see the fork-tongued message there that they're throwing at you. Oh, it's not merited, it's not earned, it's not deserved, but you better do the things to earn, deserve, and merit it. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Yet they teach this to the children, And then the children's minds just kind of warp, and truth means nothing to them. Truth is just whatever the church tells them, because none of that makes sense. How can you earn the unearnable? How can you deserve the undeservable? You can't. Right? So, this is false grace. And that's why I have this picture up here. Because if you keep repeating a lie often enough, it becomes accepted as truth. And most Catholics, over 90% of them, are born into Catholicism, and they're just repeated the same lies over and over so that they believe it. And then when you show them, hey, your belief contradicts itself, such as having grace and works, or having to work to get grace, and the weird concepts they have with grace and works, they lose it. All of a sudden, these normal, rational people become very hostile and angry. It's like there's something in them that is comfortable in their delusion, and you're breaking down that delusion, and it's making them uncomfortable, so they start acting unrationally and very rudely, and even verbally abusive, if not actually physically abusive. I mean, we could see it on large scale when the Catholic Church did what they did during the Inquisitions, right? You're breaking down the illusion, the lies, so how did the Catholic Church respond? All right, well, we'll have to kill you. We'll try to just torture you into submission first, but that doesn't work. We'll just kill you. And if they had that same power that they did in the Dark Ages, they would do the same thing. They do the same thing because you can see it when you talk to Catholics. You might be one watching this right now, and I'm pretty sure you're not happy with me, even though I have done nothing wrong. I have not wronged you in any way. I have just shared the truth with you and told you how grace is wrong by the Catholic definition. That's all I did. I showed you the biblical definition, where we can look at this again. And even at Romans chapter 4, verse 4, tells us the same thing. It says here, now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt. So you see it saying if you work for it, then you're not given a reward of grace. It's indebted to you because you've earned it. You've deserved it. It's indebted to you. You're owed for your labor, right? So if you think, hey, I got to respond to grace by doing these works in thought, word, and deed, then you're working for something that can't be achieved by works because you can't earn it or deserve it. You can't merit it. It can never be indebted to you. The grace of God is never owed to you. You're never entitled to the grace of God. So to sit there and talk about works with the grace, it doesn't make any sense. It's contradicting itself. And I think this is one of the biggest things that has Catholics all wrapped up, because you preach to them the gospel. Like, yeah, you say by grace through faith. So, by faith you get the power to live the righteous life. Even though these passages say stuff that's very interesting, such as in Ephesians chapter 2. I should probably come back to the Romans there too. I'll do that. Right here it says, for by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. So it clearly tells you that salvation is by grace, so you don't earn it or don't deserve it. It's a gift, and it says not of works, and that's works in general, right? The works of the law include not sinning, religious rituals, and doing good for others. It's summed up by saying love God with all you got and love your fellow man as yourself. If you think you need to do those things to be saved, then you believe you're saved by works of the law. It's contradicting what we are actually told by the scriptures. We can even come back here to Romans 4, and it even tells us this in verse 2 of Romans 4. For if Abraham were justified by works, he have whereof the glory, but not before God. Right? And I already read verse 4 to you. So check out verse 5 where it says, "But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness." So you see, it completely removes the works. Without works, but you simply believe on God, your faith is counted for righteousness. That is grace. Because believing something doesn't entitle you to anything. It doesn't mean you earn something or that you've deserved anything. Right? The very next verse. "For even as David also described the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works." Because it's about being reckoned of grace. If it's reckoned of grace, then works are not a part of it, or it's no longer grace. This is what the Bible clearly teaches us. And you need to be able to grasp that. You're living in a contradiction. Two opposing things as if they're the same. And they can actually mutually come together. Like you're taking night and day and you mix them together as if they can come together and be joined at the same time. You can have night and day at the same time. No, you can't. It's either night or day, or it's turning day or turning night. You can't have both, the sun and the stars, at the same time. Right? It just doesn't work. The sun is out, it's daytime. It's not night. The sun's not there, it's night, it's not day. Right? Clearly different times. Same thing with works and grace. Right? So, all that being said, thanks for watching and take care.